Next one will be community development. You got to get out. Community development.
We will call the Community Development and Strategic Planning Committee meeting to order. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Foster?
Here.
Commissioner Harvey Wright?
Here.
Chairman Hughes? Here. Commissioner Larry?
Here.
Commissioner Mahoney?
Here.
Commissioner Stolnik?
Here.
Commissioner Snyder?
Here.
Commissioner Wilkins? Here. Commissioner Nash?
Here. Next up is approval of the minutes for May 21st, 2019.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any questions or corrections on the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor, use one saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? That motion passes. Next up is public comment on an agenda item. Does anyone have any comments they would like to make on this agenda item? Seeing none, we'll move on to the presentation and updates for the convention center and the CBD and the Stephen County Parks. Mr. Lucas.
Thank you, Commissioner Bob Lucas, Community Development Director. I have some handouts here, folks, so I'd like to pass these out to you first. I don't think I have enough for the whole meeting, but you'll get the gist of it, I think.
We'll also have this included in the minutes of the meeting so that you'll be able to look at the meeting minutes and see all of this information.
Okay, Commissioners, I'd like to give you an overview of our preliminary results for the CBD. First off, in the packet that I just passed out to you, it shows our accommodations tax collections for fiscal year '09 through fiscal year '18. You can see they grew every year since '09. And if you turn to the next page, you'll see the accommodations tax collections for fiscal year '19. This is actually from today. I pulled this number. At the bottom, you'll see the total of $1,216,000 and some change. That number, the reason I included October of '19 is because we're still getting payments from the September accommodations tax collections. Today is the last day or the payments are due today on October 15th. So we'll see those numbers come in. There's a number of hotels that have not yet reported. Two of our largest hotels have not yet reported, but we should get those numbers today or early next week. So I will come back to the board with an update on our accommodations tax collections for the entire fiscal year of FY19. Typically, we get those numbers in and we feel pretty confident about them in January. It takes a while for some of these properties to remit their payments. The next page you'll see.
Bob, I have a question about this. So you said that there was an increase every year, but 17 to 18 shows 0% increase.
Yeah, 17 to 18, it was kind of a flat year. We attribute some of that to the weather that year. Weather has a lot to play with the visitation to Muskegon, especially during the summer months. This year, for instance, we had a pretty poor June. It was rainy and cool during June, so that affected our numbers somewhat. But the other thing that we're starting to see now is short-term rentals are affecting the hotel numbers. It's reducing occupancy at the hotels, and some of those short-term rental properties are not reporting. We go after them as best we can, and we're looking at hiring a company that can find where all of the short-term rentals are located They can give you coordinates that can be overlaid with GPS and GIS maps to tell us where some of these properties are located. What we'll do then is we will contact those properties and tell them that we do have the ordinance here and that they need to remit payments of the accommodations tax to the county.
So where do you expect us to be at the end of this year?
At the end of this year, I'm thinking it will actually be higher. I'm thinking it'll probably be maybe 1,240,000, possibly 250. Remarkably, it turned out to be a good year, even considering the weather. If you'll recall, again, May and June were tough months, rainy and cool. Then during one of our major events, Rebel Road, there were storms that passed through the area and played havoc with that festival. It took down tents and it closed up on Saturday night, their busiest night, very early at 7 o'clock. So we've had some issues this year, but I think some of the short-term rentals are paying the accommodations tax, which is helping us. So the more we keep on top of those short-term rentals, the better.
So one last question, where do we need to be to make payments on the convention center? What does that number have to be at?
I would have to look at that, but you know, the more the better, okay? I'd have to look more closely at that number would be what, you know, the exact number.
I have a question too. You, in 2018, we had 300 rooms that were in the process of being remodeled.
Yes.
So that did have a big effect on 18. Were they all back in use in 2019?
2019, they came online in FY19.
Okay.
Yes, they came online in June of this
June,
year.
okay.
So they did make it for
Perfect.
the summer season. That was mainly the Delta by Marriott,
Okay,
the
great.
former Holiday Inn. But we did have 2 hotels in Muskegon Heights that were undergoing renovation at that time. The former Red Roof Inn, which will now be a
Days Inn.
Clarion.
Oh, Clarion.
Yeah, it's a Days Inn currently, but it will eventually be a Clarion.
It started out as a Days Inn.
It did. Yes, it did. You're right. And then it went on to become, it's
All
had
kinds of things.
a number of different things.
Bob, I had a question. Are we, what's going on with the Motel 6?
The Motel 6 is open.
It is open?
Yes, they have 2 wings open. There are approximately 80 rooms in that hotel. And they're seeing increases in occupancy too. I live not far from there, so I drive by it often.
Did the remodel of the Delta impact that?
Those hotels, they were both under construction at the same time, basically.
But did it reduce the numbers at all with the remodeling going on?
I don't think so. The Delta, when it first opened, had some issues with the reservation system, but those issues have been resolved, so it's up and running well now. They're rebounding now.
It also looks like there are cars in front of the old Holiday Inn.
Yes, that's the Motel 6.
That's the Motel
Oh,
6.
that's the Motel 6.
Yes.
I have one other question. Can you tell me when when somebody leases out their house, I mean, they're gone for the summer, and they lease that out, is that considered a summer rental? I mean,
Yes.
So they would, even though
Short-term rental.
they own the house themselves, they would owe a tax on that?
Yes. They owe it the accommodation
For,
tax
for just downtown or for all over the
for
county?
the entire county. Yes, ma'am.
So this is kind of a bit off topic, but the 2 hotels that are under construction in Freeport, they were expected to be in this accommodation tax too. Do you know what's going on with that?
They are no longer under construction and they will be removed. Yeah, they were, there was a legal issue with those hotels, so they will no longer be hotel properties.
So we don't have any possible investors that might be interested in?
I'm unaware of any. I can look into it a bit more, but there was not.
Those 2 hotels that are partially built are going to be demolished?
Presumably.
I can answer this with that, you know, right now they've sat there for so long with the plywood and stuff on them. I mean, there's no way they can be salvaged at that can't be salvaged. So that's probably the best, even if they do something with them, make them into apartments or something, that plywood's all gonna have to be removed, because it's all swelled up and.
Okay, the next page, you'll see our occupancy and ADR. ADR stands for average daily rate. We have 2012 through 2018 numbers, and those are calendar year numbers.
I'm sorry.
So, our 2019 numbers will come in in January, we'll have those numbers, but we anticipate the occupancy to be up slightly. ADR will probably be about the same, and RevPAR is revenue per available room. That's basically what the hotel makes on each room after they pay all of their staff and utilities, mortgages, everything else. So, those numbers also have consistently improved. In 2016, we went above 50% annual occupancy, which was very positive for our area, and it spurred new hotel investment. There is a hotel plan for downtown Muskegon, help me here, administrator. Microtel, downtown. That will be directly across from the transit center and next to the Social Security building. That'll be an 83-room hotel that'll have a lower price point than the other two downtown hotels, and will help us go after government business. Government, as you know, government associations and government meetings have a per diem that's typically lower than private business. So that will help us attract some of that business to Muskegon County.
If the hotel will pay that extra assessment?
Yes, it will.
Mr. Lukens,
Yes,
when will that additional incremental increase in the occupancy tax kick in?
for the downtown hotels, it's already.
It's already in?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. When the new hotel opens downtown, the Microtel, that will immediately be paying the PA 59. If you look at the next page, these are recent numbers that were literally just passed on to CBB directors across the state from Travel Michigan. And I always like to say that I'm one of the reasons that they get us these numbers, because I pester Dave Lorenz, who many of you know, about these numbers all the time. And we finally got them for 2018. We're almost a year behind, but we do have them for 2018. And as you can see, the numbers are continue to grow. Muskegon had a 4.5% growth rate as far as visitor spending is concerned. And these numbers are developed by MEDC, Travel Michigan, and Tourism Economics. Tourism Economics is a group from Pennsylvania and also from Oxford, England, that does economic impact studies, tourism economic impact studies around the world. Travel Michigan and MEDC contracted with them about 2 years ago to do the numbers, the estimated visitor spending numbers and employment numbers, and I personally believe that these numbers are better than, are more realistic than the organization that they had in the past that did their estimates. So as you can see, the economic impact they're estimating for Muskegon County in 2018 was $327 million in tourism spending and visitor spending here in the county. And of that, state and local tax revenue came in at approximately $38 million. So tourism is a very important part of Muskegon County, and it needs to be continued and grow. If you look at the next page, you'll see the numbers from 2011 through 2018. 2012 was a bit of a blip, and no one is really able to explain that blip. I've asked a number of times, and I think it had to do with business travel at that time, was at least what they told me. So it did jump up, but then it went back down to a lower number, about $30 million lower than that. But the numbers since 2013 have continued to rise. The next page shows calendar year tourism employment for Muskegon County. Direct employment is estimated at 3,193 employees, and the indirect is, the total would be 4,715. That includes the direct and indirect employment.
How about that? I have a question. And maybe, I can't imagine why I don't know this, but what does Kent County have we don't have?
Kent County?
Grand Rapids.
Grand Rapids.
But, I mean, I understand that Grand Rapids, but, I mean, the people are there. What is the draw that brings tourism into Grand Rapids?
The convention center.
The convention center
And
and the, oh,
and
the
the
art-
hotels,
art
the
fair,
restaurants,
art prize
breweries,
and all
art
that.
prize.
Oh,
They
yeah.
have many events. They're a major metropolitan city, so,
Yeah, but
you know.
Costco's not bringing in any tourists.
Muskegon and other smaller towns like to compare themselves to Grand Rapids, but there's no comparison.
Okay.
And we really need to get over that.
It just seemed like that was, I mean, holy cow, it's huge.
It is, yes.
It just doesn't seem like there's.
But if you look at Ottawa County, which is, you know, they still have tourism draws, but they're very seasonal. And we're very comparable to Ottawa County.
Yeah.
Ottawa County has Grand Haven and Holland. Holland does very well and has really developed with the hotel properties that they have downtown and the meeting space that they have downtown with the university there, or the college rather. You know, they have been able to capitalize on that, and they do well, but we're very comparable with them.
They partnered with us too with ships, you know, so
Yes.
the people will take a tour to Holland, especially tulip festivals.
Right, right, yeah.
It's good, thank you.
On the next page, if you can see our social media activity. Facebook is the main one, and you'll see that we did well. Our social media person at the CBD said that you'll see the only number that really didn't go up was reach, and that's affecting Facebook pages and destination Facebook pages across the board. So it's not unusual to have that reach go down. Facebook is charging for advertising now, and they kind of, their algorithm can block certain demographics from seeing your posts. So that's the reason that number has gone down. But it's still a pretty healthy number. The next page shows some of the other social media activities that the CVB participates in: Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, LinkedIn, and YouTube. LinkedIn is a business-to-business social media website or social media site. So those numbers are rather low, but we're working on that. If you look at the next page, the meetings and events hosted and attended in fiscal year 19. These are some of the groups that the CVB helped bring into the area. You'll see a number of them. The MDEQ conference, that was with the assistance of WINSRDC, the West Michigan Shoreline Regional Development Commission. The DHHS, I believe, was in conjunction with meetings that were held here in Muskegon and our own DHHS office here. The Friend of the Court was Sandra's group that she brought in. The prosecuting attorneys was DJ Wilson's group that he brought in here. And we appreciate all of those county employees that are helping bring meetings and events into Muskegon County and provide overnights for us. The page after that is trade shows and sales events that CVB staff attends. I can explain a few of those. Circle Michigan is the group tour niche for the state, and these are the tour buses that come into the area and bring in groups of people for color tours, for church trips, for other trips. Many of these are local, or I shouldn't say local, but statewide groups, but some of them come from out of state. We've been seeing increases in traffic from Ohio, Indiana, and the Chicago area, bringing groups into our area. So what we try to do is snag them and get them to spend the night here and eat here, which affects our, and visit our attractions, which affects our bottom line. Going on Faith is a religious show that we attended. It was in Grand Rapids this year, and FAM is an acronym for a familiarization tour. So we brought a fam from Grand Rapids over here for half a day. They went on to the LST, they went to the Art Museum and the Heritage Museum. And then we had dinner with them on the LST and got to interact with those operators there. They bring religious groups into the area. Heartland Travel Showcase is another group tour trade show. We go on sales calls in Ann Arbor and Lansing to bring associations and other groups to Muskegon for their meetings and small conventions. Meetings Michigan Showcase is another meetings and conventions type of trade show. MPI is Meeting Professionals International. These are people that plan meetings throughout the state and the nation. That's the Michigan group that we talked to and attended their industry day. Then we have the Michigan Society of Government Meeting Professionals, obviously government groups that they deal with, and we attract them here. And then we go to a couple of leisure shows, the Chicago Travel and Adventure shows, a big one at the Rosemont Convention Center. And then we went this year to the Wisconsin AAA show. That was in downtown Milwaukee, and we partnered with the Lake Express on that. The next page, you'll see the Great Lakes cruise ships. And I was just talking with Jim about that earlier. There he is. In 2019, we had 12 calls, including 5 overnights, from 3 lines and 3 ships. And we also had a Coast Guard cutter here during Coast Guard Fest down in Grand Haven. They asked if they could stay at Heritage Landing, so we accommodated them, and they were very pleased with that. In 2020, we're expecting 35 calls from 3 cruise lines with 4 ships. We have 5 conflicts in 2020, and we have 3 days with 2 ships in port at the same time. So we've been working with the Mark Dock on that to accommodate those ships and others in the community to be able to bring those ships here. In 2021, we have 42 calls on the books right now, and that's without the Pearl Mist, so we're anticipating another 10 with them in 21, bringing the total to 52. That would be 3 lines, 4 ships, and 6 conflicts. We'll work out those conflicts next year.
Are you trying to tell us you want to adopt?
Oh, we've already been talking about that. We've been talking about that for about 2 years.
I was afraid you were getting serious now.
It's not going to be a county dock though, so don't worry. Moving on to the Muskegon County Parks. Our final park revenue for 2019 was $828,000, up about $2,000 from 2018. There's a few figures that we have to add there, firewood, ice, and some other small sales that should boost that number a bit. We recently completed our last event of the year is the Fall Harvest Weekend. It's kind of a Halloween themed weekend. We had 201 sites occupied, the most ever.
That's really good.
Compared to 154 last year. It's become a very popular
And
event.
it's so fun to drive through. It's just fabulous.
It is.
You just did a great thing.
Yeah, and the guys kind of have it down to a science.
And I know several people that actually live in Muskegon and went out there to campus for that weekend.
It's very popular. We've been upgrading the Pioneer's electrical pedestals. They're very old, and we're having a number of electrical issues with them, so we're upgrading those. This year, I believe it was this year in the spring, we upgraded all the pedestals at Blue Lake County Park too. So I think there's 25 sites there that we're upgrading. Let's see, we're working with Public Works on the engineering phase of the new maintenance building and the bathhouse out at Pioneer. They're working on engineering and design of that. The design will be based on the state park bathhouses. So that should be moving along, and we hope to start that in fall 2020 after the 2020 season. Staff is currently in the process of winterizing bathrooms and water systems. All the equipment is getting a once over and getting winterized. We're going to upgrade the Wi-Fi at Pioneer Park, so we're working with Ivan and the IT department to do that. It's amazing how much people need Wi-Fi even when they go camping.
Well,
So we have to accommodate them. We have to
kids don't want
accommodate.
to go if they don't have it.
Right, right. The last cruise ship, I didn't mention this earlier, but it was October 5th. The security staff that we have for the cruise ships they're run through the parks. So we pay them through the parks, it's just an accounting thing, so we put them on the books there. They're done now. They did a fantastic job this year with a limited number of staff, and we're going to have to really staff up for next year with the additional calls that we have. And the next thing is leaves. We got leaves coming any day now. So once the leaves start falling,
You're just gonna take down fences and hope for a big wind,
we're
right?
gonna cut down all the trees. No, I'm kidding. Please. I'm kidding. No, the staff takes care of that. They just clean the leaves out of the campsites. And that's it. Any questions?
Sorry.
Oh, the convention.
Go ahead. Were you going to go over the convention center update also?
Yes, the convention center is currently in the process of, they're finishing up the demo and moving some of the utilities in there. I really don't know much more than that. There was a report that's sent out. It's a monthly report that we received from the construction company, Clark Construction. I believe all of the commissioners received that. So it has a pretty detailed summary of what happened during the previous month. But right now, they're moving a lot of earth, preparing for the foundations. I know they want to get the foundations in before we get the winter hits. But the main thing that they're doing now is the utilities. They've connected water to the hotel and sewer to the hotel. I think they did that in a one-day procedure to get it done. They would typically do that after people check out in the morning and before they check out in the afternoon, or before they check in the afternoon, so it would be a midday hookup. And right now, like I said, they're just moving earth and working on the utilities. I know I saw today, or yesterday it was, the LC Walker Arena, which will be connected to the convention center, got a new HVAC unit. The city's been working on that, so that will help the arena considerably. And they will eventually close down the front entrance to the arena because they're building a restaurant in there. The Harris Group is going to open a restaurant opposite Radbad's. So it will be on the south side of the arena in the southeast corner. There'll be a new restaurant there, and they're going to reconfigure the entrance to the arena along with the convention center entrance from Western. But yeah, the project's going on.
Commissioner Mahoney. Just to thank Commissioner Lucian, or not Commissioner Lucian, maybe someday. I don't know.
Good.
For all the efforts that you and your staff have put in, especially with the Convention and Visitors Bureau and the increased tourism that the county is really showing up in a big way. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Mr. Scully.
Bob, you said that the convention center was going to be hooked to LC Walker.
Mhm.
I thought it wasn't.
There were a number of iterations, but as a group and the city, county, and the operator decided that the best thing to do would be to connect the two buildings. It would make it easier for people with disabilities to get into the building, and it would provide just a better experience for people entering the arena or the convention center, or both properties at the same time.
So 4th Street is going to be closed for sure.
It will, but there will be a path between. People will be able to get between the, between Western and Shoreline.
Any other questions?
So have all the bid packages been let on the convention center yet?
There's 2 outstanding yet.
So do we know where we're coming at on budget on this? Are we at budget, below budget? Do we have any idea?
I'm not sure.
If I may, Bob, we're at or below is the last message I received last week.
for the bid packages we got in, but,
Yeah. So doing really well. Yeah, and we also, they let the city, let the bonds, you know, the interest rate on that was 3.8. That's all right. 3.4.
it was less than we anticipated.
Yeah, so interest rate is really good as well.
Is there anything being done to expand the parking availability of surrounding the arena area?
I'm not aware of anything at this point. I know there is parking still available over on the, that'd be the north side of Shoreline. There's a city-owned lot there, and I'm not sure if that paved lot is owned by Pigeon Hill or if the city owns part of that. But there is parking there. During events, I think the Mark Dock could potentially be a parking area, but I haven't confirmed that yet. There's on-street parking. The lot across from the arena is still used for parking. I don't know how much longer that will continue, but the lot has not been sold at this point, so it's still a parking area.
You know, if I could, I was downtown Saturday night or something at Brownville, and that Moore Street lot was pretty full. So I hope somebody's thinking, I know it's not our problem, but I hope somebody's thinking about a parking ramp.
You know, the city has done a study on parking spaces here in the area. We presented on that, I would say, 4 or 5 months ago, Bob.
Yes.
That they, at this point, they feel like there's enough parking at this time.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. Next, we'll move to old business. Anyone have any old business coming before this committee? Next up is new business. Anyone have any new business coming before this committee? Next up is public comment. Is anyone in the public who'd like to have a comment?
Is this the last chance for public comment?
I will accept the motion for adjournment.
So moved, support.